I've purposely waited to put this recording out because I wanted to discuss with you a totally hypothetical situation and ask a few totally hypothetical questions. But this is South Africa and things happen on a daily basis. So this has ended up being a little bit behind the times or outdated, but my question still remains. Many of you will by now have seen a certain video aired on a few mainstream media outlets which did create quite a stir among most who saw it and has even got the attention of political parties such as the Freedom Front Plus as well as AfriForum and Solidarity and who knows who else. Although, like everything else, the stir didn't last half as long as I thought it would or should. Many of you will know exactly what video I am talking about, but for those who don't know or those who have not seen it, I will play it for you in a minute. Once you have watched this video, I would like to have a totally hypothetical conversation with you around it. So without any further ado, here it is.
You went to a school here to protest the other time, and you were beaten by white people. And there is a white man who's visible on camera. If I were to ask you, what have you done in terms of follow-up after being beaten by that white guy? Why have you not, as a revolutionary organization, followed up on that guy, him alone, to check that guy in an isolated space and attend to the guy properly? What type of revolutionaries get beaten and they don't have a follow-up? And then they pride themselves of being beaten, and they repeat videos of themselves being beaten, and we must vote for them because they were beaten by a white man that they've never followed up on the same white man that has beaten them up. Tell that white man to try me. I'll come many times here in Western Cape appearing a court case because no white man is going to beat me up and call myself a revolutionary the following day. You must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Why did Mandela take up a gun? He was the first soldier of Mkhonto Wesizwe. Why did he take up a gun? Was he taking a gun to distribute roses? He took up a gun because the revolution had reached a point where there is no longer an alternative but to kill. Why are you scared? That anything that stands on the way of the revolution, it must be eliminated in the best interest of the revolution, and we must never be scared to do that. The founding manifesto of the EFF says we'll take power by all means necessary. And therefore revolutionaries, when confronted by that situation, should never think twice. Cowards are not for the revolution. The EFF must be known that it is not a playground for racists. That any racist that plays next to the EFF and threatens and beat up the membership and the leadership of the EFF, that is an application to meet your maker with immediate effect. You were beaten by a racist and you never did anything. Let's hope this new leadership will make a follow-up on that racist, because there must be a follow-up on that racist. I'm not asking you to do what I've not done.
So once again, this imbecile with a serious case of foot-in-mouth disease has spouted off a bunch of utter incitement and hate while being totally confident that he will get away with it. And by the look of things, he probably will. You see, after winning a court case against AfriForum recently, he now thinks he is untouchable. But is he really? This is where the hypothetical part of the conversation starts. I say again, what I am about to discuss is totally 100% hypothetical and is merely speculation as to what the possibilities going forward could be. Many of you will remember a while ago I made a recording asking a question why we had not seen another Barend the Witwolf as he called himself. I have never come up with an answer to that question, not a definitive answer anyway. So here is my hypothetical situation. Let's say that somewhere in South Africa, Joe Soap is sitting in his living room going through the internet for news of the day. You see, hypothetical Joe is not a happy person at all. He lost his job due to BEE and has been sitting at home ever since, getting deeper and deeper into debt. He hasn't paid his rent in the better part of a year. He hasn't made a payment on his car in 6 months, and his wife has left him recently. Hypothetical Joe hasn't eaten proper meal in 2 days. Even that was a mere tin of baked beans with 2 slices of bread. Hypothetical Joe knows within a month or two he will be out on the street without a roof over his head and no idea what the future will bring. The only thing that hypothetical Joe is grateful for is that his 2 children are out of the house and miraculously have work and are able to look after themselves to a certain degree. You see, his children, although grown up, are everything to him. They are literally all he has left in life, and he would do anything to protect them. Hypothetical Joe used to be an avid sports shooter who regularly took part in shooting competitions, winning many of them, but has had to sell 3 of his 4 prize handguns over the last year just to survive, and is left with just 1 firearm for home defense, a really well kitted out AR-15 that he used to use in competitions when he could still afford it. Hypothetical Joe has always prided himself on being up to date with what is going on in the country, and like many of us, is absolutely disgusted and incensed by what the ruling party has done to this country in the last 28 years. Hypothetical Joe stumbles across this video you have just seen, and something in him just clicks. Hypothetical Joe listens to Julius and takes to heart what he said. Hypothetical Joe takes the threats of killing and bloodshed to heart. He takes it as a personal threat to himself and to his 2 children. Hypothetical Joe, not being a youngster anymore, used to be a parabat in the old SADF, and the training in him kicks in. If there is a known threat out there, the best defense is to be the first to attack. Hypothetical Joe immediately swings into action. He happens to live not too far from where Julius spends a lot of his time, so he starts to do some recon work every day for weeks, and at some point he feels confident enough to pull the hypothetical trigger on his operation. Excuse the pun. After weeks of recon and very careful planning and preparation, he finally waits for the opportunity and literally pulls the trigger. Julius, hypothetically of course, drops like a stone and is no more. What happens after that is up to your imagination, but I have to ask again, why we haven't seen something like this happen in all these years with people like Julius Malema shouting his mouth off all the time. I mean, there is no shortage of radical, stupid people like Barend and even Harry Knudsen out there these days. There are a number of factors that could trigger most people into doing something like this, but in my opinion, intelligence, or the lack thereof, has to be at or near the top of this list. You can't doubt where these individuals' hearts are, but there also can't be too much doubt as to their intelligence. In fact, I would say that Barend is probably more intelligent than Harry Knudsen, because if you look at how these 2 individuals went about what they wanted to do, you can only laugh at how Harry conducted his so-called mission. Another huge factor, in my opinion, is having nothing more to lose. When someone's life has reached a stage when, in their own opinion, their very existence, or rather their absence, would not make any difference to anyone or anything, then they are a prime candidate to become a Barend or a Harry Knudsen. So with everything that has happened in the last few years, with more whites than ever losing their jobs and in many cases losing literally everything, ending up in the white squatter camps despite having skills and some, in many cases, decent educations. Why haven't we seen another or more Barend Strydums and Harry Knussens coming out of the woodwork in recent times? I'm only able to come up with two possible answers to this question. Main answers anyway. There probably are many reasons, but these two main reasons are what come up for me. Number one, people these days are just not as involved and therefore are less informed as to the severity of the situation we find ourselves in. In other words, it is simply ignorance to the reality of the situation, and that is, most of the time, it is voluntary ignorance. They simply don't want to know. Number two, to me, it could be a sign of a people that have been beaten, a people that have resigned themselves to the fact that they are powerless and cannot change the situation, and therefore are just too afraid to contemplate such things. After all, look what happened to Harry Knussen, and he never even killed anyone, right? Whatever it is, as sinister as this might sound, it is not a good indication of the state of our people, in my opinion. Although I can't put my finger on either of these reasons as the reason, I am sure that they both play a major role. You must remember that none of us are the same as far as tolerance levels are concerned. What might be something totally tolerable for you might be totally intolerable for me, or intolerable for me, or vice versa. Each of our personal circumstances is different too, which makes a huge difference. So my hypothetical question is, how many potential Joe Soaps are out there, and how close are they to becoming another Barend Strydom or Harry Knussen? Now I bet there are going to be people accusing me of inciting violence with this hypothetical situation. My answer to that question is absolutely not. And then we'll take a quote from Julius's own speech after that. We all know what that is. Please like and share this on as many social media platforms as possible. It's the only way that my message gets out there. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I have to ask, why not? You have absolutely nothing to lose. Hit the subscribe button right now and ring the bell to be notified every time I upload new content. If you would like to make a contribution to my channel, in the description I have made provision for both local as well as international listeners to make a contribution. If you'd like to make a crypto contribution, in the description field I have provided a Bitcoin as well as an Ethereum wallet address. If you would like to contribute any other cryptos, simply shoot me an email to the address also in the description and I will reply with a relevant wallet address. To all those heroes out there who do make a contribution, however small it might be, I would like to say a massive thank you. Without you, this channel would not exist. Until next time, be safe out there.